Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talk with my Major League Baseball update. You can catch us live on TGI Sports Talk on Let's Talk Sports, YouTube, Facebook. We'll see who joins us today. We started doing this show live last week, see if we can get some comments going. And again, we're going to look for a better time, I think, to do this show. We do the Let's Talk New York Sports right after this at 2:00. So some of the let me get this music down. Some of this will be, redundant as far as the baseball goes for the New York audience, but we try to keep it more generic on this show and talk Major League Baseball in general. So, just going to go through some news and maybe talk about some of the, grades for some of the big moves this year, this offseason so far. And still some big moves to come. Pirates still trying to move Brian Reynolds with no luck as they're looking for the same kind of deal, the Nationals got for Juan Soto. I don't know what they think they're dealing with. Brian Reynolds is a nice player. He's not Juan Soto. So I'm not sure what they're thinking about there. But there's lots to talk about. Oh, listen, I started to talk about, we're trying to find a better time to do this show, and we will as we go forward and certainly get towards the season. We'll fit it in wherever we can for now. And once we find a regular time, we'll hope to find a more regular audience. As I do this show, one of my baseball aficionados, if you will, Drew Ehrlich, I love my brother-in-law, actually. I'd love to get him involved, commenting or maybe coming on the show now and again to talk about Major League Baseball. But we welcome any of you that want to pop in and give your comments, and we'll cover the world of baseball in as much detail as we can. This time of year right now, not much going on. We had the burst as I expected when we had the winter meetings in December. Now we got a little lull. There's still some people to be signed free agent wise. Still a deal here and there, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward. But it won't be long, guys. Pitchers and catchers will be here. What, 6 weeks? Not even, probably. Anyway, as we go forward, the big stories this week. First, we're going to talk a lot about Trevor Bauer. We're going to talk a little bit about Carlos Correa, and then we'll jump around and look at some of the news. But you guys have topics in Major League Baseball or anywhere in the country, bring them up. We'll talk about them. We can talk minor league baseball, too. I do not care. Carlos Correa, as we know, his odyssey this winter has been an interesting one. Signed with San Francisco for big money. I don't remember exactly the deal there. I think it was very close to what the Mets had offered. Where was it? Just had this here. Mets offered a 12-year deal. I think 12-year, $315 million. I think the Giants were right around that, but the Giants backed away. And listen, I was pretty hard on the Giants. CA, how are you, buddy? Winter ball, Latin and South America. When I was young, and CA, I don't know your age. I'm 60, going to be 63 here this in a few months. But everybody, all the big stars played in the winter leagues for either the extra money, the experience. A lot of guys went down there and managed. Frank Robinson went down there and managed every year before he became the first black manager in baseball. So winter, and it's good baseball if you've ever watched it. And you'll get to see a lot of these guys play when we get to the WBC. As well, which is a lot of fun because it's really good baseball if you've never seen it. Somebody was showing it, if I remember right. Oh gosh, a few years back, somebody covered the one of the winter leagues, not extensively, but we had some games, and then they got to their playoffs, and we would see some of it. I think it was in the Dominican, if I remember right. And I saw a Dominican game, watched the Toros play. Don't remember who. It's an interesting night at the ballpark, let me tell you. But fun. Think that the show should be in the morning. I might do it in the morning. It's hard because of work and whatnot. But we'll look at doing it. I appreciate the input. And again, this is one that I was doing quite frankly, I would record this show when we started doing it, and then we just play it whenever. But I like comments, so I want to get some of those as we go forward, especially as we start getting into the season here very soon. 54-year-old son of a gun, man. Got almost 10 years on you. Seems like I got 10 years on everybody. But anyway, I appreciate that. And I don't know. It's probably not going to be an evening. So what I might do is I might fit it in a morning somewhere. And when you say morning, see, I don't remember where you are exactly. So if you're in California, your morning's different than me here in New York. So anyway, feel free to give me a suggestion and we'll talk about it as we go forward. For now, we're just going to fit the show in where we can. I started talking about Carlos Correa. His odyssey throughout this free agency has been interesting. I was hard on the Giants. I said I didn't think they were serious about signing him. I thought they gave him an offer, put him through the physical, and declined to sign him based on the findings because they were trying to placate their fan base. They lost out on Aaron Judge. They really didn't want to sign another big-name free agent, which kind of was backed up when they signed Michael Conforto right after that to a much less lucrative deal. And the Mets swooped in the same night, basically, as they walked away from the contract. The Mets swooped in with a 12-year, what was it? 12-year, $315 million deal. Then the physicals started going badly there. An injury that he got when he was 20 years old to his lower leg. Mets kind of reduced their offer. Actually, they didn't reduce their offer, but they reduced the guaranteed money to like $157 million, I want to say, or 6 years. Carlos Correa walked away. End up signing with the Twins for roughly the same amount the Mets would have guaranteed him. I think it was 6 years. What did he sign with? 6 years, $200 million. Sorry, he got more money than the Mets were willing to guarantee. Got an extra $43 million. Listen, Carlos Correa is entitled to do what he wants, and maybe the Mets dodged a bullet here. Did the Mets really need, a $4 or $5 million payroll? I don't think so. I mean, it's turned into a real debacle, and you're going to see more of this as these teams, because we're in this cycle now where these teams are offering these mega deals, right? I don't know where this started. We would see it here and there. Pujols signed a 10-year contract way back 10 years ago with the Angels, but you weren't seeing those big deals. A-Rod, I guess you could put in there, a handful of guys. Now you're seeing right and left, everybody's signing. There's got to be about 10 or 12 contracts this year that are 7 years or more. And a handful that are 10 years or more. Well, maybe 9 years or more. So this is a cyclical thing. It'll work its way out. And you're going to see more of this type of thing because as teams lock themselves in for this many years, and it's not just the years, it's the money they're guaranteeing. Or maybe you'll see less guaranteed monies, or you'll see more opt-outs, mutual opt-outs. I'm not a big fan for giving players opt-outs on, 7, 8, 9, 10-year contracts. If I'm going to sign you and give you security, I can't let you opt out after 3 years when you think your contract's now obsolete. So you're going to see more of this really diving into the medicals and people projecting what will happen down the road. That's what the doctors were worried about, is that down the road, 6 or 7 years from now, he will have problems with that leg. Didn't seem to bother the Twins. Well, it did bother the Twins. They only signed him for 6 years. So Carlos Correa, I mean, this offseason cost him $100 million plus. Interesting stuff. So he's a Twin again, which is good for Minnesota. I mean, that's okay. Listen, if I'm a Met fan, I don't know that I want a team full of these superstars. Yeah, you want to win, but you just can't put a collection of superstars together and necessarily win. So we'll see how that goes. Now, on the flip side of this coin is the Trevor Bauer story. The Dodgers officially let him go, which is not a shock. They eat over $10 million I'm sorry, $21 million of his contract that was remaining. He's free to sign with anybody. I guess it was 22 million point five. So they're going to save, I don't know what it is, 2023 salary. They'll save $720,000. What's $720,000 when you're paying out $23 million? Whatever. I mean, I don't care if I owed him $180 million. I'd want him off my team. I can't have this type of personality. And it's time, and this is about time now. And this is one of the first instances where I've seen this. Guys accused, and we're seeing more of it. I shouldn't say it's just them. Texas fired their coach, Chris Beard, who was accused of assaulting his wife in a domestic violence dispute. Trevor Bauer here gets suspended indefinitely last year by Major League Baseball. And to me, Major League Baseball shouldn't let him off the hook. They do make it a team thing. But these teams need to get tougher. And if I'm a team now, he's free. I know the Yankees and Mets have both said they won't pursue him. I don't pursue this guy. These are bad people. People who anybody who puts their hands on a woman, no respect for. Sorry. Gone immediately. Lost friends. Family. So I don't want anybody to sign him. I want teams to start. Listen to me. I said the same thing last year when Domingo Germán from the Yankees was arrested in his home country, which escapes me. It might be the Dominican. I can't remember. He was arrested on domestic assault charges. Yankees welcome him back with open arms. Some of the players weren't happy he came back. And he pitched well, and I had comments. I was getting ripped right and left. You know, oh, everybody deserves a chance. Not if you hit a woman, you don't. Sorry. Women and children, off limits. Go beat the crap out of your best friend in a bar. Don't care. And I got ripped last year by Yankee fans. All they cared about, well, if he can pitch well, who cares? Well, that's a wonderful attitude, right? I want to see the NFL get tough with some of these guys. These guys there's a proliferation of these guys in the NFL. There's a proliferation of them probably in Major League Baseball and all sports. But we're starting to see teams take a harder line. And I hope they keep doing that. And Trevor Bauer, I hope everybody's smart and they don't sign with him. What do you got here? 10 a.m. Eastern time, still Major League Baseball games? 10 a.m. Eastern time? Hard would work. 11 a.m. Maybe lunchtime, right? I don't know. We'll talk about. I'll think about it. We'll figure out a day and a time to do it. Fridays, I might be able to do it. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do it on a weekend. I don't know. Hard to say. Already got a show on Sunday mornings. We'll figure out a time to do this. I promise you. What other news we got going on in Major League Baseball? Let me go through some stuff. And you guys, again, you got topics you want to bring up, please feel free. I don't know what that is. Is that a fist? I can't quite make it out. The Guardians, a little bit of news. We're going to go through. This isn't earth-shattering news. The Guardians, team formerly known as the Indians. I have a hard time with this, guys. I'm the most politically incorrect person you may know. They're the Cleveland Indians. Anyway, the team formerly known as the Indians are going to be remodeling Progressive Field. They're going to be announcing a plan for reimaging of its downtown home, which has aged well since opening in 1994. Is now the 11th oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball. You know, these parks become obsolete in about 5 years now. You know, I can't believe some of the new stadiums have been built and teams are screaming for new stadiums. It's amazing to me. AAA ballparks are going to use the electronic strike zone in 2023. This brings up an awesome topic for me, which I'll touch on here. Do we need electronic strike zones? Why is human error not a thing that we live with forever that we can't live with now? Why do we have to change a game that wasn't broken until you broke it? We want to speed up games. Just enforce the rules that are there. You have a strike zone. Teach the umpires to call it correctly. All of them. Electronic strike zone. This is probably the least of my issues with some new rules. Eliminating the shift. How stupid. You're diametrically changing the game. I should be able to put my players anywhere I want on the field. If you want to eliminate the shift, it's very simple. Teach guys how to hit. If all my guys are over here, how about you hit the ball over here? Basic premise of baseball. But nope, we don't want to do that. We're going to change the rules to artificially help the players. We don't want them to be more fundamentally, have a better fundamental approach to the game. We want to change the rules to help them along. My God. What else? Bigger bases. They're talking about safety. Please stop trying to pull. I'm not stupid. Don't pull the wool over my eyes. Bigger bases for safety? Come on. Another thing, and you can only throw, oh, by the way, and I'll put these two together. Accompanying that, you can only throw over to first base 3 times. I don't know if that number is correct right now, but I think that's accurate. So here we go, helping the offenses again. I've said this 100 times to you guys. Every rule change since 1968 has benefited the offenses. Every rule change. Now, maybe the strike zone will help the pitchers. I don't know. Scott, I see your comment. I'll get to it in just a second. Let me finish this little rant. But you look at lowering the mound, changing the strike zone to begin with, smaller ballparks, a DH, baseballs made like, with a rabbit inside, take away spider tack. Every rule change has been put in to create more offense and hurt the pitchers. Now we're going to have bigger bases, and you can only throw over to first base so many times. So you're going to artificially inflate stolen base numbers. Ridiculous. Strike zones in the minors is going to be, I agree, Scott. I mean, baseball is played, sports in general are played by human beings and officiated by human beings and have been since the beginning of sports. In some cases, 150 years ago, let's say. But now, everything's got to be perfect because of the society we live in. We can't have one little mistake. Who would remember the 1985 World Series if it wasn't for Don Deckinger blowing a call at first base in Game 6? It'd just be another World Series won by the Cardinals in 6 games. Now, I feel bad for the Cardinals that they didn't win, but it lives on in history because of the blown call. Otherwise, it's just another World Series. All the rule changes. I mean, so I'm glad somebody agrees with me anyway, Scott. Thank you. The shift. Does the shift eliminating the shift make any sense? Put in rules instead of enforcing the rules that we have, or teaching kids, we'll start when they're kids, how to fundamentally approach hitting. Hit the ball where they aren't. Don't hit it through the shift or over the shift. Fine if you can. Joey Gallo. Or stop telling me we need to speed up the game by artificial means, right? Pitch clocks. If you just enforce the rules that you have in the book, the game will play along fine. Watch any game from the 70s. Here's what happens. I get the ball, I throw the ball. Comes back to me, I get the ball, I throw the ball. Pace of play was awesome. Yeah, odd plays, yeah. You'll see more odd plays. Again, bigger bases will induce more offense. You're going to have more stolen bases because I've got more places to go to the bag. Got even on, attempted stretching of hits to doubles and triples, which, by the way, doesn't happen because guys don't run. Guess I'm just going to rant today. I'm not going to get to any news. I'm just going to rant about Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred continuing to ruin a game I love. Don Denkinger. Did I say what did I say? Denkinger? It is Denkinger. What did I say? Scott remembers. Scott, tell me, would you? Maybe you're answering me here. Would you remember the 1985 World Series if that play didn't happen? Would we remember anything about that World Series? Well, you know what I'm saying. It lives on because of that call. And you know what? Yes, I'd rather see the call get made right and the right team win. Human error. Let's just have, right. That's very close to that, Scott. Let's just play Stratomatic. Play Stratomatic 365. I happen to play. I don't know if you guys play. I played Stratomatic when I was a kid. I love playing Stratomatic 365 now. It's getting ready to start this year's mystery tournament, which is a lot of fun. If you don't do it, check it out. It's fun. But this is how we're going to, you're right, Scott. Why play the games? Just simulate them. Yeah, don't forget chewing tobacco. Spider tack. The whole thing with the spider tack and checking pitchers just drives me crazy. And I'll have guys like the Mad New Yorker tell me, these guys are nothing without their spider tack. Well, what are the hitters without juiced up baseballs, smaller ballparks, lower pitching mounds, designated hitters? Annoying. You wouldn't remember anything about the World Series of 1980. I agree 100%. I might remember who won, thinking about it, I guess, because I remember those things. To a certain point in history, right? I can go back a long ways, but then I get to the more recent, well, not the last year, for instance, but I get into the 2000s. That was easy with Loudon and the Yankees, but not in 2000s, 90s. Anyway, that's my point. Some great games in sports in general were great because there was a problem with the officiating, and I'm okay with that. You don't let your team get beat, and you don't say, I got beat by officiating. Said this again, I think the Mad New Yorker this morning, and are you serious? Why? Why do we concentrate so much on officials' mistakes when if we just correct our own, whether we're talking about baseball or football or anything, you wouldn't have to worry about the mistakes that they made. Hot dog eating contest between innings. Well, if it was back in the 20s, we could have the players participate. Babe Ruth could participate. So anyway, there you go. Minor leagues will, by the way, here's the rest of the things. We will have implementation of the pitch clock, new regulations greatly limiting the use of defensive shifts, stupid, larger bases, restrictions on, I guess I got them all, restrictions on number of times pitchers can attempt a pickoff. All speed up play and player safety. BS, Rob. Man. Let me get some other news. You guys feel free to comment on this or whatever topics I jump to or anything you want to chat about. Eric Hinsky, former pretty good third baseman and DH during a 12-year career. I think most of his good years came with the Angels. He's going to join the Mets as assistant hitting coach. Eric Chavez is moving to bench coach this year as one of the moves the Mets have made. And Eric Hinsky, who will be taking over the role that Eric Chavez had. Glenn Sherlock was let go. I'm sorry, he's moving. He wasn't let go. He was moved from bench coach to strategy coach. We're going to have as many coaches in baseball as we have in football before long. He's previously coached in the majors with the Cubs. He was first base coach there, and I think Arizona's assistant hitting coach before that. I talked about Trevor Bauer. The Dodgers did try to trade Trevor Bauer, by the way, before releasing him. Not surprisingly, there was no biters. The Cardinals, speaking of coaches, Matt Halliday, who was the bench coach there, and he was a longtime star with both the Cardinals and the Rockies, played with the Yankees for a little bit as well. He'll be replaced as the bench coach by Joe McElwain. He played with the Mets, played with the Cardinals. He had an interesting nickname. I can't remember who that was. He did serve as a bench coach before for Rick Renteria with the White Sox, I believe. And then this past season, he was a third base coach for Tony La Russa and Miguel Cairo with the White Sox. So Joe McElwain, another baseball lifer. I like seeing these types of moves and getting these veterans there to help some of these younger managers navigate, troubled waters, as it were. What do you got here, Scott? What do I make of the Mets offseason? Well, I think the Mets have done a pretty good job. I like the fact that they didn't sign DeGrom to the terms that he wanted. I'm pretty sure the Mets would have brought DeGrom back for 2 years and not signed Verlander if that was a consideration. I think the Rangers are nuts for signing him to 5 years. And what was it, 5 years, $188 million, I think. I think the Mets were smart to walk away from them from that deal, and I think they did a good job in bringing in Verlander on that 2-year contract, assuming he and Max Scherzer can get through the season fairly injury-free. They're going to miss starts. The Mets are going to have to probably get a little bit more depth, I think, in that starting rotation, Scott. But I like what they've done with the pitching staff. I like the fact that they brought back Edwin Diaz, who, listen, he was much maligned his first few years with the Mets, but he was the best relief pitcher in baseball last year. Maybe the best pitcher in baseball last year. Now, relief pitchers are kind of mercurial, right? He could have a horrible year next year. It's just the nature of the game. I like the fact that they brought in Quintana. Here's the thing. I believe I saw the deals they signed for Verlander, Quintana, Senga. Who's the other guy they brought in that I'm trying to think of? David Robertson. And I think an offensive guy. Let me see if I can find a name I'm thinking of here. Where are you? Come on, where's that? Oh, Brandon Nimmo, re-signing Brandon Nimmo. Those 5 guys, I think, account for less money than they would have wrapped up in signing DeGrom to that 5-year contract that the Rangers did. So I like what they did bringing in Senga. We don't know what we're going to get on the major league level. We never know what we're going to get from these guys when they come from Japan. Jose Quintana has been a reliable guy through his Major League Baseball career with the White Sox, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. I like the fact that they brought Carlos Carrasco back. When healthy, he's a really dynamic pitcher, I think. They'll miss Taijuan Walker a little bit, but, he's faded in the second half pretty much every year. The problem there is he went to a division rival. That hurts a little bit. They got some depth, too, with Peterson and McGill. If he's healthy, he pitched really well, don't forget, the outset of last year. I like what they've done in the bullpen and bringing in Robertson to kind of lengthen that bullpen a little bit. They pitched pretty well out of the bullpen as a rule last year, and I think those are all good moves. I like bringing in Navarez at catcher, if I'm saying his name right. He's been very good in his career with Milwaukee. Might be getting a little long in the tooth at 30, but, I think he's fine. I'm not a big fan of Darren Ruff and Vogelback. I think the Mets still might need another bat. I mean, what I was thinking about would happen, and with Correa is not going to happen now, because I think Escobar will stay at third base. Obviously, he finished the year very well last year. I don't think the Mets needed a lot. I still think the Mets need a DH that they can rely on. I don't think they can go into the season with Vogelbach and whoever else playing DH. I mean, you could keep that spot open, but I think they really would be better off with a bigger bat in that situation. Now, maybe Alvarez is going to be the guy they try to use there against lefties. We'll see. Or maybe full time. They'll probably give him a chance in spring training to make the team, I would think. But I like this team a lot. I liked it last year. I like the job Buck did. Again, they failed in a postseason. That's the black mark on Buck. But overall, I like what they've done. GM dunking booths. That'd be good, actually. How about Rob Manfred dunking booth? Make him travel to every major league stadium this year on some cold April night. On the East Coast, preferably, when he's making them play night games in April. So anyway, Scott, there's my kind of take on the it's funny, CA. That's my take on the Mets for now. The Dodgers acquired veteran infielder Miguel Rojas from the Marlins. He was originally started with the Dodgers. They're looking to get some depth after losing Trey Turner and Justin Turner to free agency this year. Justin Turner, I don't think it's going to be that big a loss. I think Rojas, he'll be a backup guy. He's not much of a bat. He was a finalist for the Gold Glove last year. He'll probably be the primary backup and move around at second, short, third. Those positions will be manned mostly by Muncy and Lux and Vargas next year. Miguel Vargas, I think, will be the starting third baseman. I think Lux will play shortstop, I think, next year. So we'll see how that goes. What else is going on here news-wise? I don't care about that. Let's see what we got over here. Let me jump to some Major League Baseball stories from the National. Lawrence McCutcheon. Oh, my God. Isn't that awful? Andrew McCutcheon. Lawrence McCutcheon was a running back for the Rams in the 70s. How freaking old am I? He's returning to the Pirates. The Mets, this is a team the Mets were, the Mets were looking to bring in, Scott. And I think he would have been a good guy to be that fourth outfielder, maybe the right-handed DH in certain cases. Again, getting along in the tooth, not close to the player that he was previously when he was with the Pirates. But I think he would have been a good addition to the Mets. Nelson Cruz signs with the Padres. Nelson Cruz still can hit the ball a little bit, even at his advanced age. CA's having a good time. CA. Oh, well, I hope everything's going okay there. Who's going to challenge the Astros in the American League? Well, listen, it's going to be, as always, we're going to be looking at let me just look at the standings here real quick. The Yankees will be there. It's going to be a matter of whether the Yankees can match up with the Astros or whoever in the postseason. Yankees will be there. Blue Jays are better. Tampa, I think, is going to continue maybe to take a step back. Guardians, young team, consistency can be challenging. We'll see. If they continue to get better, they could be a challenge. White Sox, I see treading water. Twins probably treading water. In their own division, the Seattle's very good. Seattle is going to continue to take a jump. Now, they're 16 games worse than the Astros last year. Now, the Astros probably won't win 106 games again. But let's just say they win 100. Then Seattle's still 10 games behind them. And the Rangers, I don't think that they're going to be very good next year. But I got bad news for Ranger fans. You're not ready to win. I know you've made some big trades and big free agent signings the last few years, but this smells really a lot like the Rangers from the 90s. early 2000s. I guess early 2000s, more late 90s, early 2000s. The A-Rod Rangers. They're not going to win. They're too young. They're too thin in starting pitching. They're not going to contend in this American League West. And I know that Alan Perales will be very upset to hear that. National League is very interesting. It was last year. I mean, I think you got the Braves, Mets, Phillies, Cardinals, Brewers. Big disappointment, the Brewers last year. They got to get some offense. And they did get a little offense in the offseason, but probably not a lot yet. Not crazy about what the Cubs are doing. But there's 5, the Dodgers, the Padres, and maybe the Giants can rebound. I mean, you got, I think, 7 or 8 teams that can win the National League this year. Giants are going to be interesting. Their success winning 107 games or 108 games, whatever it was, 107, I guess, 2 years ago, was a lot of it was smoke and mirrors. And they played great baseball. But again, it wasn't baseball that's easy to sustain. They brought in a lot of journeyman pitchers, and they had great years. They did a lot of platooning and got really good production out of both halves of platoons. So good job done by them. But it's hard to sustain that type of thing. You got to get every move right every year, and that's very hard to do. Sham Bloom made the Red Sox non-news this offseason. What did he do? Let me check him out. Non-news? Let's check him out, Steve. What did he do? Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the Red Sox and this whole Trevor Story injury thing is pretty interesting. Is he hurt? Isn't he hurt? The players are saying he isn't. That it's blown out of proportion. So I'm not really sure. Where to fall on that. I don't know. The Red Sox are an interesting story. They've let Bogarts walk. They did re-sign Devers, which it was debatable whether they were going to be able to get that done. And I think kudos to them for getting it done. But this team, I think, is really not on paper anyway. And again, we don't play the game on paper, right? We play it on the field. I'm not sure how good this team is. Let me take a quick look at their roster. I mean, losing one of the best shortstops in the game and not being able to replace him is not going to sit well. Here's their starting staff next year. Sale, Pavetta, Whitlock, who pitched well last year, Houck. Guys, some of these guys pitched okay in spurts last year, but you're going to expect these journeyman guys and an injured former superstar to carry your starting rotation. You're going to rely on Kenley Jansen to be your closer, one of those unreliable guys I've seen in forever. They got some interesting arms in the bullpen, but he's your closer. Your catchers leave a lot to be desired. You got Justin Turner that you signed. He's 100 years old. The guy's my age. Almost. Trevor Story now is or isn't hurt. We don't know. You do have Devers. Who's going to play shortstop? Christian Arroyo? I don't know. The outfield, they signed Yoshida. I don't know how good he'll be. We'll find out. Verdugo, I like. He's a decent player. Hernandez is your center fielder. There's just not a lot of talent on this team in my mind. I think it's going to be a little tough for them to, project themselves as contenders. What else? We talked about Nelson Cruz signing. We talked about Trevor Story. It does appear he's hurt with an elbow injury, which only further weakens this Red Sox team. Oh, and a sad story, and hopefully one that will have a happier ending. White Sox pitcher Liam Hendricks is beginning treatment for non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So we wish him wish him nothing but the best. Why am I stuttering so badly today? We wish him nothing but the best, and we hope that he can, recover fully and get back, to the form that we're used to seeing him. I can see the Red Sox finishing last in the East. I said that actually the last 2 years, and I think 2 years ago they played really well and won the East, didn't they? Or at least made the playoffs. But I've said it the last couple of years, and this team is worse than those two teams. So I'm not sure what the plan is there. They got a building block in Devers, I get it, but why are you signing Justin Turner? Messed up. We could look at doing that. I'm already at weekly. Definitely we'll do it weekly if we do it CA, because I said I'm in a daily that takes up so much time. Anyway, we're going to have to get over and start up the Let's Talk New York Sports. Scott, if you're a big New York sports fan, you can certainly tune us in on at the top of the hour. We'll be doing all New York sports, football, baseball, basketball, even some college basketball. I co-host that with Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. Dan's still not with me, back with me. We do hope to have him with us soon. So, guys, it's been fun. We didn't get to a lot of stuff today. We will. Just not a lot going on right now in January. We got pitchers and catchers coming soon. Daily is a grind, I will tell you. And it's hard to kind of keep track of everything that's going on. So, but we'll do it. So anyway, Scott, jump over at 2 o'clock. Talk some more New York sports. We'll certainly dive into it there, certainly in depth. We got to talk about the Giants playoff game and some more stuff. Next week, we'll continue to look at some of the off seasons for the teams. We review Major League Baseball, all the news that's fit to talk about, and your topics. So please join me right here on TGI Sports Talk and Let's Talk Sports Network for all Major League Baseball news around CA. Scott, thanks for joining me and commenting today. Like and share the show. Scott, if you're not a follow of TGI Sports Talk, I'd ask you to pop over and like and follow it and share it with your friends. Get those invites out there. Continue to grow my brand, the Nessip brand, the Let's Talk Sports brand, all of it. Guys, have a great weekend. Won't be long. There'll be pitchers and catchers.